guys, what's going on? My name is Tim Kelly. I'm Section 215, Senior Editor and Content Developer here at the Fansided Network. Thank you guys for tuning in. Today in this video, I want to talk about what Philadelphia sports team has the best chance to win the next title and bring the next parade down Broad Street. Because realistically speaking, we had the Phillies in 2008. We had a nice 5-year run that Ruben Amaro and David Montgomery will never allow us to forget because they'll be here on lifetime contracts. That was a nice run, and I appreciate everything, and the parade was amazing, and everything about 2008 was amazing. But prior to that, there was a 25-year title drought in Philadelphia, and since then, none of the Philadelphia teams have really even sniffed another chance at winning a championship, with the exception of the Flyers, who got a hot goaltender in Michael Leighton, who weren't able to win the Stanley Cup that year, though, in 2010 against the Blackhawks. So we are looking at a situation right now where, with the exception of the Phillies, we are, almost 30, I think we are 30 years without a championship from any team in this town except the Phillies. So in the last 30 years, Philadelphia has won one championship. And, we have 4 big market teams in the city. I guess it's somewhat hard to call the Sixers a big market team only because, they haven't spent a ton of money, largely because no one wants to come play for the Sixers, except maybe the Elton Brand and Andre Iguodala deals, but no one of real substance wants to come to Philadelphia right now, and that's something that the Sixers do ultimately have to change, and hopefully will. So I want to start breaking down which teams have the best chance in the short term, long term, everything like that. We'll begin with the Sixers, who, I like the plan. I can't say anything wrong with the plan that Sam Hinkie's done. I feel like this is the organization that is the best run in this entire city, and I'll take as many losing seasons as it takes if it means a parade at the end of the campaign. I think next year we'll have one more bad season likely, and then after that we'll hopefully see a team that begins to build towards a championship team. And the thing is, especially if LeBron James opts out and somehow goes to the Western Conference this year, but even if he doesn't, it's not like it's that difficult to get up in the Eastern Conference. The Pacers are going to have some cap questions over the next few years. The Heat are going to have a problem building depth, and they have an aging problem. I think as long as LeBron James is there, if he's still there next season, that's a team that the Sixers probably aren't getting by. But you have one team in them. The Wizards have a nice thing going with John Wall and Bradley Beal, but they're certainly not an insurmountable task to beat. So I look around, and I think if the plan actually works, and I think Angelo Cataldi's the only one I've heard in this town actually against the plan that Sam Hinkie has done with tanking and analytics, and I can't fathom why you would want to have the Sixers rather have them remain mediocre than at least try this out, because even if this plan fails, I will have rather had this happen than have the Sixers continue to be a 7 or 8 seed and get crushed in the playoffs every year, win one game in a 5-game series. That accomplished absolutely nothing. So the Sixers, I'd say over the next 5 years, it depends who they draft. Sounds like one way or another they're going to get Andrew Wiggins, but if you end up with Joel Embiid, Joel Embiid might end up being the best player of this draft if he can stay healthy, or if you get Jabari Parker, you're still not in a bad situation. Michael Carter-Williams, Nerlens Noel. I think as you begin to get real NBA players in there, this is going to be a very scary defensive team, and you need to find your scorers. And that's one thing Jabari Parker would provide if he is who the Sixers do end up with. The Eagles, on the other hand, the Eagles are in a situation where they're not necessarily... it's not that they don't have a bright future, it's that the NFC is fairly crowded. Drew Brees and the Saints, at least for the next couple of years, are still going to be an elite offense. You have the Packers with Aaron Rodgers, who will always be a good team as long as Aaron Rodgers is there, and I think they're going to improve that defense. They have Jordy Nelson out there. The Falcons are going to be a better team this year. Then you look at the NFC West, and you have 3 potential playoff teams this year. I think a lot of people think the Rams could make a run. I think they're not a bad team in another division like the NFCs. Maybe they could, but you look at the Cardinals. The Cardinals have a top 5 defense when everyone's there. You have the 49ers, who were NFC champions 2 years ago, and the Seahawks, who were Super Bowl champions last year. Both of them have better defenses and probably more complete offenses personnel-wise. Not that the Eagles are exactly lacking on that front. And I think that the chances that the Eagles win a Super Bowl over the next 5 years largely fringe on a few things. Do they end up building a championship defense? How long does LaShawn McCoy stay at the level that he's currently at? And how long does Chip Kelly stay in the NFL? I think we're going to continue to hear the rumors, and as long as Chip continues to talk about how he loves Oregon, I'm going to be slightly concerned that maybe he bolts back for college if things even get a little rough. I don't necessarily get the sense that that's in his immediate plans, but it slightly scares me. I think the Eagles are a team that could get... I don't think they're a serious championship contender this year, but I wouldn't put it past them to potentially make a run, because as long as you have Chip Kelly there and the amount of offensive talent they have with Jeremy Maclin, Jordan Matthews, and Riley Cooper, and Zach Ertz, and Brent Selleck even play the way that we believe they will with the addition of Darren Sproles, you still have LaShawn McCoy, and probably more reps for Chris Polk this year. It's possible. I think you still don't have a championship defense, so what's going to need to happen for them to really make a run over the next 2 years would be A, some teams like the 49ers and the Seahawks get upset, and the Eagles will probably have to do some of that upsetting, and B, the Eagles offense is going to have to get red hot and drop 35 plus in the playoffs, which probably isn't very realistic, but I wouldn't put it past Chip Kelly in year 2. The Phillies, with David Montgomery sticking by Ruben Amaro, there were a few scenarios for the Phillies. If they actually do a rebuild correctly, you're looking 4 or 5 years down the road, so you can even begin to think that maybe they'll be competitive again. You have the scenario where you continue to do what you're doing, which clearly isn't producing, and the scenario they're probably going to choose, which is a failed half-ass rebuild, which only sets you back a few more years until you have to ultimately do the 3, 4, or 5-year rebuild that has been necessary for a couple years. So the Phillies, I'd be surprised if they make the playoffs anytime in the next 10 years, to be completely realistic. I'm not saying that for shock value. I'm not saying that to necessarily up the ante on firing Ruben Amaro, because I don't think anyone else in this town needs to do that any more than it's already been done. They don't have personnel, and people continue to say, oh, well, 2016, they decided to go drop, but you're still going to have Ryan Howard here. Jimmy Rollins will be off the books. Chase Utley, depending on the options in his deal, and if you trade him this year, could still be here, but he'll be in his late 30s. Marlon Byrd could still be here, but he'll be in his late 30s. You don't know what you're going to have. Dominic Brown, Ben Revere, Carlos Ruiz will be in his late 30s. This team's not competing anytime soon, and I am excited that the bullpen is pitching this way, and that they're finally getting going. But Jonathan Papelbon's not going to be here at that time. You hope that Ken Giles, he looks electric so far. I pray to God that Ken Giles does not ever have any arm problems, but his slider looks tremendous, and if you combine that slider with the 100-mile plus fastball, he looks like a better version of Ryan Madsen in my mind. Maybe not quite the array of breaking pitches, but you allow him as a closer, and I think you're a dangerous team. So it's not that they don't have some aspects that I like, but you need to build a bench and an entire new lineup and depth in the starting rotation. You don't know what the future of Cliff Lee or even Cole Hamels is at this time. So it's really hard to speculate. That I can't see the Phillies anywhere near a championship anytime soon. The Flyers are in a slightly similar situation, except they're going to make the playoffs as currently constituted. They might even win a series in the playoffs. But if Ron Hextall is truly in charge, not Paul Holmgren, and he wants to build the team like we saw the Kings, there's 2 different Kings teams. There's the one 2 years ago that won on defense, and there's the one this year that won on speed that is a lot more representative of where the NHL has gone now, and it's probably it'd probably be a lot easier to build through speed than go and try and find a bunch of elite defensemen, because they don't grow on trees. So if you can do that, build the speed, it's going to be a couple years while you continue to do this, but I think that the Flyers in a few years could be a seriously competitive team. That's if they do it this way. If they do the half-ass rebuild, then they're probably not going to. If they continue on the same path they are now, they're not going to. I like Steve Mason a lot. I don't know if Steve Mason is a Stanley Cup goalie yet. I think the way that he played and the fact that he didn't get much help in the latter part of that Rangers series won a lot of fans over, and myself included. But I watched the Stanley Cup, and he's not on par with Henrik Lundqvist and Jonathan Quick, and I don't feel like he could have gone blow for blow with either of them and had the Flyers come out on top in that series. I don't see that happening. So what's the verdict of this? The verdict is that we're not winning a championship anytime in the next 2 or 3 years in Philadelphia. We're probably looking at 5 or 6 years down the road till we could realistically look at maybe the Sixers doing it. The Eagles could do it anytime in the next 5 years. it's a crowded NFC. It's not easy to win a Super Bowl. So we'll see what ultimately happens there. But my guess is that the Sixers are the next team in this town to win a championship. And that's saying something considering they had the second worst record in the NBA last year. So let me know in the comment section and by voting on the poll, if you're looking at the original article, what team in Philadelphia in your mind will be the next to win a championship. I'm Tim Kelly for Section 215, and I'll catch you guys next time.